Film is a medium that transports. All I have to do is pop myself in front of the TV to watch a movie, and I can just enjoy it, whatever place the film takes me to.
Movies have always been an escape. It gives you a whole new world to be in.
I have a rekindled love affair with movies.
Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Reel to Reel Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. Joining me, as always, on the show are Paul Britton and Susan Chisholm, the other Reel to Reel Talkers. Guys, welcome back. I'm looking forward to this episode. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited, for sure.
We are going to be just all about going back in our past. Blast from the past, baby. Let's do this.
Yes, it's going to be unique.
Yeah, blast from the past indeed. As this week,
no regrets.
We are going to take that step back in time and talk about movies that influenced us as children or as young adults. As I was thinking through this particular topic, I guess for myself, guys, I looked at it as, movies that had impact on me, whether negative or positive. And I think I've settled on the two that I'm ready to talk about. So how challenging was it to go back and, think to yourself, okay, which are the ones I would bring up today? I want to start with Susan, Paul, because again, percentage of movies watched. Was it difficult, Susan?
No, and I mean, truthfully, it was. I suggested this topic because there was a specific, and this is the second time that I've done this where I've suggested a topic, but I had something in mind. One movie in particular in mind that has affected me. So my thought was, I saw it as a child, and as a child, it was either that I was so fundamentally affected as a child into my adulthood, or if it's something that just kind of lasted like that. So for me, I already knew it when I suggested it. I was like, all right, I've got my one. And then somebody said we need to do two of them. And I was like,
then it got difficult.
It wasn't difficult so much as it was, okay, which of these movies do I choose? Because there are a number of them that have affected me in different ways. And so I was like, all right, cool. So I've got mine now. I'm like, I was driving not yesterday, maybe Thursday. And because today's Sunday, for those listening, Thursday. And it hit me like a lightning bolt. So I was like, all right, I'm good. Let's go.
Paul, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, no, this was like, I literally spent 1 second thinking, okay, well, how am I going to present these? Because I know exactly what I'm going with. I mean, this was, definitely an easy one for me. I was ready for it.
Yeah. And I think for, as we begin the conversation, the thing for me also was that as I look back on my childhood, I remember thinking for us, going to the movies was a luxury. It wasn't something that we were able to do all the time, especially when my parents, they're raising 6 of us and trying to figure out, what's the best way to entertain all of these little knuckleheads, and movies weren't always the biggest or the best option. And so when we did get to go to movies and so forth, it was such a treat. I will have to say, though, that the person who probably took me to the most movies as a youngster was my cousin, Carlos. And he really, you'll see, of the two, there's a doozy in there that I'm going to talk about that made me question seriously, why was he allowed to take us to movies in the first place? And so, but this is a guy who, took us to see every Rocky movie. That was like a family thing. He would, come pick up myself and my siblings and, take us to go see the latest Rocky movie and things of that nature. So it was a nice trip back to look and see, okay, what was my movie experience growing up? So I'm also curious, and Paul, we'll start with you. Movies is a passion for you. We've known that for a long time. Was it something from a young age?
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because the movie that one of the movies that I'll be presenting was the first movie I stayed awake through the whole thing. So, that's how impactful it was for me. Like, nice. I vividly remember, having the conversation after the movie of like, wow, Paul, you stayed awake for the whole thing. Like, because I'm just notorious for I can sleep anywhere. It just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter. I am asleep. It's like if it's like ready and my body's like, yeah, you know what, it's time to sleep, I'm gone. I'm out.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And movies when I was a little kid was that, you know, like, and so, I mean, I remember, I have no idea how old I was. It would have been, I would have probably been like 2. I do remember being taken to go see Fantasia as a super little kid. And it was an experience because they had like, it was in a big, huge theater, like not like a movie theater, but like an actual, like, it was the Warner Theater in Erie, Pennsylvania, for anybody who, and it was just like this big thing, you know, when you go to be seeing this in the Warner Theater in Erie, Pennsylvania, and just, I didn't make it through. but I thought it was awesome, but I I didn't make it through. Yeah. So, but like, this one I remember making it through, and you know, we won't do spoiler alerts yet, but yeah. So
love it. Susan, what about you? From, you know, was movie watching a thing of your childhood?
Yes and no. So a lot of the times it was less what I was watching and more what Dad turned on. Because we only had, you know, one TV in our household, and it was whatever was playing on Saturday or Sunday afternoon when he was, you know, resting his eyes. So we had to settle for that. I mean, like, for me, the movies that we would watch as children, I mean, we had a VHS, and we also had a Betamax player. Like, we had all of that, and we would watch the same movies over and over and over again until we wore them out. So, and it was also, I mean, a lot of the times it was the time spent with Dad, you know, like snuggled up on the couch watching Indiana Jones for the 87th time. Not complaining. Yeah. But just saying, you know. So that's kind of where the movies were for me as a kid. It was what did we have on tape that we could watch.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can distinctly remember growing up, the first time there was a videotape, you know, player in the house. The first time I remember the first time we got a color TV. I mean, these were sort of hallmark moments in my lifetime. And I think I've shared before on this show that my uncle was very much what today we call a techie. You know, he knew all the stuff about the latest technology and video, you know, cameras and such. And my parents taking us over during a Halloween, maybe it was the week of Halloween, and we were being introduced to his brand new video cassette player, big gigantic thing. And, you know, for some reason, my parents decided that watching the movie Omen 2 was a good idea for kids. And so it was just the most, you know, the weirdest movie experiences when I think back. And so maybe that explains some of my disposition. But, you know,
I mean, other than the Omen 2 not being as good as the first Omen, what's the problem?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, there's that. But as a young kid of 7 or 8, you know, the whole, you know, I think I've shared the music is what really got into my psyche. And so, of course, now I watch those older movies, and they're not quite as scary as they were at the time. But so as we go through this conversation, we'll do like we do. We'll round robin it. We'll each you know, present one, and then we'll circle back again. And I would like to begin with Susan. Let's get you started, and then we'll go Susan, Paul, and then myself, and we'll cycle a couple of times. So Susan, what do you have for us first?
Okay, so as I mentioned before, I have a positive impact movie and a negative impact movie. The negative impact movie is the one that birthed this idea, so I'm saving that one for last. Yeah. So the positive impact movie, I guess if you want to call it that, the movie that gave me a lot of made me make positive changes in my life, maybe, was the movie Ferngully. Because I mean, and because as a kid, I was so freaked out by hexes, and I was like, litter and spray paint and everything's terrible. And I never, ever have used spray paint to this day because of that movie. But I also one of those people, like it's also one of those things that I passed on to my children. So like they also are like very conscious about environmental kind of issues and stuff like that. Because of the fact that, you know, the little smoke guy scared the shit out of me. But it made a positive impact. So
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
1992, a big year for Robin Williams' voice acting.
And what I said earlier when I said that it just came to me out of nowhere, it like struck me like lightning, was I was sitting in my car driving and I was getting ready to turn left, and I glanced over at whatever signal post was holding the signals, and it had a big pink X on it, and I was like, and then immediately Robin Williams' voice popped into my head, and the little like rap that he does as Batty, and I was like, I should probably learn that and do it on the podcast. And I was like, absolutely not. So that didn't happen. But I could probably go from memory, but I'm not going to. We're just gonna leave it there and say that it affected.
Do you want me to drop a beat for you? Would that help?
No, thank you. No, I kindly pass that opportunity to someone else.
Darn it.
No.
Well, Susan, I have to say, Paul had quite a reaction. I've not seen Ferngully, so I was very curious.
Okay, that's one you have to see.
Yeah, I was very curious.
That's your next assignment.
Yeah, I'm not going to make you do monsters. I'm not going to make you do Monsters versus Aliens. Ferngully, you have to watch.
Okay.
That is an absolute must.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if you caught his reaction, Susan, but it was quite out there. Like,
I love Ferngully. Look, but by the way, like, spoiler alert, it's definitely a kids movie. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this before you making you watch this. But like, I was working in a movie theater when Ferngully came out. It was my first ever job. So like, yeah, you can watch. You can sit through 90 minutes of Ferngully, I promise.
Well, I mean, and if you think about back, okay, yes, you've got a great message, but you've also got Robin Williams.
Yeah.
As a frenetic, I guess would be a nice way of putting it. Bat. He's
Robin Williams Bat. Robin Williams being a Robin Williams Bat. Exactly.
So just think, I mean, and you'll hear it, and like when we watched it not too long ago, hearing him and the way that he, like his voice and the way that he was just put everything into this character, and it made me tear up because I was like, oh, Robin Williams.
No.
And I said 90 minutes. It's actually 76 minutes.
Oh,
and you also get I forgot, you get the vocal stylings of Tim Curry as well.
Yes.
So,
I forgot about that.
So honestly, Sergio, it just peel it off like a Band-Aid. It'll be over quick. You'll be fine. And
you'll want to say, gonna fucking love it. You're gonna love it.
It's fun. It's fun. I can see how somebody who was at the right age would have been highly impressioned by the environmental message. It really did a very good job of getting through on that. And it's
So I was 7 when the movie came out. I probably didn't get to see it until I was 8. What?
I said I was much older.
So in 1992.
Yeah.
I was 7. But we didn't get to watch it until it came out on VHS. So it was probably 8 before I got to see it. And it was one of those things where it was just kind of like, okay, at age 8, you're in like 2nd grade. And it was one of those things that they showed in school, like,
right.
Hey, we're gonna, the last half of the day is just, F around time. So we're gonna turn a movie on.
Miss Johnson has a hangover. We're putting on Ferngully.
Exactly. Although my 2nd grade teacher was real mean, so it might have been one of those things where she just like that day, she's just like, I don't give a fuck. Let's just turn on a movie for you guys. But so yeah, but that's yeah. And then when we owned it on VHS, it was to the point where we would watch it and watch it and watch it and wear it out. Like we wore the tape out. So nice. and truthfully, I found it when we were moving
the tape
into my husband's parents' house. We lived with them for about 6 months, and we set up a station for our kids because at that time this was 2000, 10 years ago, so 4, 3, and 1.5 ish. And we set up a VHS station and we played all the things for us, our memories. And like, we would sit down and be like watching the movie and the kids are like running around. We're like, shh, come here, look, watch this. But they're still running around behind us. And we're like,
that's funny. Oh, I'm still sitting here stunned. You said when you were 7 years old, you were in 2nd grade?
Is that no first or second grade? Yeah.
Or no,
Isn't
in
that right?
1992. Yeah. No, I'm just saying because 1992, I was planning my wedding. So there you go. But
I was cleaning up a movie theater that had just shown Fern Gully.
nice.
Oh, there you go.
Well, so am I to assume then, folks, that is my assignment for our upcoming
That's your
episode?
assignment.
Because
Spoiler alert.
I can do 76 minutes. So
Yeah, 76 minutes. It's
Yeah.
in and
It'll allow
out.
me to make sure I
However-
watch everything for that week.
However, there is a sequel. Do not watch it. It is
Okay.
trash.
It's trash. Wow.
Like most sequels, like most
Let me-
animated sequels. It's trash.
I mean, and you know me, the person who says like, "Oh yeah, give every movie a chance, even if it's like stupid."
There's an episode. Animated movie sequels that should never have happened because I don't think there should have been a Hunchback of Notre Dame 2. So,
No.
No.
See, so
Or
but-
Lion King 1.5.
oh, there's a timeout being called. Paul?
Yeah, we better not start.
I am going to supersede this argument by saying any conversation of that ilk would have to automatically exclude direct-to-video shit because I'm not spending the energy needed to expend my voice to have those conversations.
No,
So-
Yeah,
I won't subject that. I won't subject us to that. So I've just
there are
thought-
plenty of shitty animated sequels that should have never happened that were released
Oh, I agree.
in theaters.
I agree.
But
Oh,
we're not
topic
going
idea.
down the Hunchback of Notre Dame 2, Pocahontas 2, Cinderella 2. We're not going down that rabbit hole because it just doesn't need to be traveled.
Oh
Does not
man.
need-
So to wrap up my point,
Don't
that
watch
was my
Fern Gully
that's
2.
my don't watch Fern Gully 2, but Fern Gully is my positive impact movie that's affected me. Even now as an adult, I pick up garbage.
And you
and
can still watch it with the same sort of, feeling.
childlike wonder. Yes.
Okay, cool. Wow. Well,
Absolutely.
there you go. Interesting.
And just one quick last thing. It irritates the crap out of me because my kids are like, "Oh yeah, cool movie." And I'm just like,
Nice.
and so I'm just like, "Get
They're like,
you sit."
cool story, bro.
Yeah, exactly. This
Oh
is
my.
the time difference.
All right. Well, Paul, we got kicked off by Fern Gully. I'm ready to see what you've got for us.
I'm going chalk here, and either one of you want to guess what the first one is? I mean, I won't let you because I'm setting this up. So
No, thank you.
it's summer of 1977. A 2 and 9 month old Paul is going to preschool, and his brother is in regular school, and they excitedly walk into school on a certain Monday morning in late May, early June, to tell their friends that they have seen Star Wars.
Oh.
And then that Christmas, my parents have to run all over Erie, Pennsylvania in search of Star Wars toys. And my grandmother takes a trip down to Pittsburgh to a true story. So Erie to Pittsburgh is like 2 hours, a little over. Takes a trip down to a toy store in Pittsburgh that has the Star Wars toy that we want, but my parents are unable to find. Yes, Star Wars mania struck Paul early, and it never relinquished its grasp. Star Wars is my first one. I mean, it was the first movie I ever stayed awake through for the whole thing, as I previewed earlier. It's just, I mean, that I would say that Star Wars influences my life on a day-to-day basis. Just every single day, I am impacted by Star Wars, and not just because of like the sheer number of Facebook crap that I have hit at me because of the groups I'm in, but just a constant, everything I see just reminds me of Star Wars and impact Star Wars. When once I was able to understand such things as philosophy and mythology and all those sort of things. I started exploring how David Campbell, or is it Michael or David? Anyway, the hero's journey by Campbell, how he, how Lucas took that. And so I consumed those books to just better understand, okay, what is the hero's journey? How is Star Wars in there? I find out that Akira Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress was an influence on George Lucas and his creation of Star Wars. And I sit down and with some friends and watch Hidden Fortress, and then I am opened up to Kurosawa, who then opens up another avenue of movies that I have seen and loved. And Throne of Blood, by the way, the best retelling of Macbeth you'll find anywhere, so do it. Slight tangent, but that's just, those are the things that happen. I mean, you with Star Wars in me is that I will seek out any path that is true and not stupid, horrible fan theories that are Star Wars related. And yeah, I mean, I don't know that you can have a more impactful movie on somebody than Star Wars on me. I just.
Gotcha. So then I'm curious then, because you talked about, sort of being consumed by Star Wars. Are you then very much into the entire franchise?
Absolutely.
And
I will progress. And the prequels, I was so excited to see episode 1, and I loved it at the time because we hadn't had Star Wars in forever, and this is what we were given. And it's and so I hated Jar Jar Binks from the first second he opened his mouth. And there were other things that were problematic that I acknowledged at the time. But it took me a while. Like, it took a long time for me to say, yeah, you know what? Episode 1's not very good.
Yeah.
To actually say that.
Yeah, and in addition, I mean, obviously the movies are what they are. I'm a big fan, but I'm also curious, Paul, because I have this sort of idea for this year, and since we're talking about it, does your love of it include the animated series and so forth? Because
absolutely.
I have
the animated
this grand
series
idea to do the timeline.
Yeah, the animated series have been awesome. The one thing I never did, just because I'm not a huge book reader, because I read kind of slow. It's just, it is what it is. So I don't read a lot of books, and I just never went down the path of bookdom, which I am really thankful for now, because as soon as Disney bought Star Wars, they're like, yeah, all the books, fuck that. That's not, Lucas was like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. You want to write a book, I'll sanction it, and we'll say it's part of canon. And it's like, so all these books are like part of canon all of a sudden. I was like, fuck that. Like, no. And so finally Disney came in and said, yeah, you know what? Fuck that. No. And I'm like, yes. And like,
Disney way.
But the problem is that people who read the books, who were the real fans, whatever, who read the books, have all these stupid, shitty fan theories about, well, this could be a reference to the book. And I get to say, first of all, I hate fan theories. And second of all, your fan theory sucks because Disney's already said the books are shit and they're not going down that path. So no, Luke and Leia and Han did not have twins. Stop. It didn't happen. It's, go away.
Oh my.
So
what's really funny about that is that I think I've read a number of books and despite being told, oh yeah, these are totally canon, I'm like, no, they're not. So
anymore.
Yeah, the only books I ever read were the Timothy Zahn trilogy of books, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and The Last Command, and they were fantastic. And some of those characters appear, I know, because of my research in the animated series, and so Thrawn, for example. So, but yeah, no, I was really curious because I have this idea of doing the entire Star Wars timeline to include the animated series and so forth this year, or at least start this year. So we'll see what happens. So Star Wars is what you brought to us first.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Well, I will complete our first cycle through by talking about, I mentioned that I too have a sort of bad moment movie from my childhood and a good one. I'm going to start with my bad one though, because I just want to get that one done because I still to this day am impacted by. I'm going to kind of use, Paul, your approach. It's 1975, and I'm 5 years old, and that's important when I name the movie that I was to this day scarred by. I mentioned my cousin Carlos earlier as the one who took us as siblings to movies throughout my childhood, and I don't know what possessed him to think, and nor do I still to this day can't figure out how he got us in, because again, there's 6 of us, to see the Who's Tommy in 1975. Now, let's just say that this movie, I'll do it this way for those who may not know, Susan. There is, of course, the main character, Tommy, and this was a musical that the band The Who first wrote and produced, made into a film. So Tommy, played by Roger Daltrey in the film version. There's the Pinball Wizard, played by Elton John. But then there's the character that scarred me for life. And I remember this because I don't have a lot of memories before 5 years old. Like, that's kind of where my memories begin. I can't recall. That's why when you said 2 years, 9 months, I'm like, wow, I am impressed that you can remember that. I can't. I cannot remember anything before my first day of kindergarten. I spent most of this film with my back to the screen. So poor people behind me, because I was just in a crouched position, like not wanting to turn around, because once the Acid Queen appeared on screen, played by Tina Turner, it was pretty, it was just, I still get weird sort of like little chills about this movie. And I've seen it as an adult, and it's a very interesting film. Of course, it's got a who's who of actors in it, and Margaret Oliver Reed, who play the mother and boyfriend of Tommy, along with Eric Clapton. Keith Moon makes an appearance, Jack Nicholson, Robert Powell. And so, again, I didn't get a full appreciation of it as a film until I watched it years and years later as an adult. But this movie literally scarred me as a young child. To the point where when I finally decided to watch it as an adult, I had that moment of last second doubt as the credits started to roll, as the opening credits began. I'm like, would I really want to do this? And it's still as creepy as it was when I was 5. So the Who's Tommy is one of the movies that literally takes you back to my childhood as, I still, my cousin, I'm 50 going on 51, and I still ask him, what were you thinking?
Rated PG, by the way. That's how he was able to get you in.
Okay, I thought surely, because it was drug laden. I mean, this was 1975. Well, there you go. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
I just made the connection.
You just said it. Answered your own question.
It was that generation's Fern Gully. So
come to drugs, kids.
Or litter.
Oh my goodness. So Paul, Susan, I'm curious. Are y'all familiar?
Nope.
It's been a long
That shouldn't surprise you.
I haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an experience.
It really is. That is a good word for it. And this experience brings us to round 2 as we get back to Susan for our second round of movies that impacted her childhood.
Okay. This one's my negative impact. Even as an adult, and I'll explain this in a little bit later on. And I think the impact that it has on me as an adult is less from the movie itself and more how I was as a child as a result of this movie. So you're gonna laugh probably. So the movie that I watched, or that my brother made me watch, I was a very small child. And so he made me watch Akira as a child. And I remember maybe 6 or 8 months ago, I went ahead and rewatched it. And I mean, okay, so the movie came out in 1988. I would have been 3 at that point, which I would say I was probably 5 when 4 or 5 when he somehow got a copy of it and had me watch it, and it scared me so badly that I didn't watch anything anime related until about 1.5 to 2 years ago. I staunchly refused. Like even things that, like even the animes that are not at all, I mean, related to that and horror at all. And you know, my husband is not, I wouldn't say an anime buff, but he's very into anime. And so there's a lot of animes that are hilarious. And so I'd be in the kitchen and he'd laugh. I mean, so loud that the sound would travel from the other side of the house. And I'd be like, what are you watching? He's like, oh, I'm watching XYZ anime or whatever it's called. And I'd be like, oh. And I turn and walk away. Literally, I mean, eyes roll, face disgust, and then turn and walk away. If you're familiar with Akira, there's the point at which he's becoming the creature, and it's like the brains popping out of the thing. I can't even remember exactly what it is now because I'm still blocking it from my memory. But there's the creature that he's turning into, and like the screaming, and he's like breaking glasses, and there's blood everywhere, and it's like, nope, I'm done. As a 5-year-old kid, I was like, what is going on? And he literally put his hands on my shoulders and held me in place while I was watching this unfold and screaming and crying hysterically as a child. So I missed out on a lot in my early adulthood with my friends who loved anime. Look at this anime here. It's pretty cool. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not watching that. You can't get me to do it. You can't make me do it. Nope, absolutely not. When I rewatched Akira for the show, mm-hmm. I was like, this scared me. Okay, all right then. I guess it was scary as a 5-year-old, and I started since then watching anime. But like that impact, I mean, all the way up until even now, I have to have somebody vet it for me. If I'm gonna watch an anime, somebody has to go, oh yeah, it's really cool. It's got X, Y, and Z about it, or you know, it has this and that and the other. And we've ended up watching a few shows. Like one of them is called Food Wars, and it's just basically a cooking show that's an anime.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of cool. I was like, hey, that's all right. That's not too bad. So far, no blood. But if that changes, believe me when I say I will be running from the room, screaming at the top of my lungs with a look of disgust, and I will never, ever, 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 ever watch anime again. If I'm warned that it's there, it's fine. Oh, that scared the hell out of me, though. I mean, really, as a 5-year-old.
Oh.
I couldn't even think of it for a while. Like I would get the chills just thinking about the movie, even when I was trying to convince myself that I had to watch it for the show here. I was like, I've got to do it. I have to overcome this. And I programmed it in and I found it and I was like, crap, it's on streaming. I don't have an excuse to get out of it. Like it was so bad. And I watched it and somebody had to be there with me watching it, and it had to be daylight, and it had to be in my own home where I could be like, if I needed to stop it, I could stop it and bury myself in the blankets and pillows. Like it was that intense for me. So
wow. I guess I never finished it because I don't recall some of what you're describing. I only know, I say that because I was going through my Hulu stuff back when we were talking about that movie, and it was about halfway through. You know how you can tell how far you've gotten. So yeah, I guess I've never cycled back. I should though, because it's a classic.
Just try not to do it on the show when I can see it, because I still don't like that movie. I still don't like it. I can see the artistic beauty in it. I can see the whatever you want to call it, but
yeah.
Hard pass.
Interesting.
Hey. Oh, poor widow Susan.
I mean, traumatized does not even begin. I mean, I had this one person that I dated before I met my husband. He was so into anime. He had the anime like shirts, and he'd wear like the little headband thing from an anime. And I was like, we're not going out like that. No.
You need to change.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I made him change.
Interesting stuff. All right. Well, there you go. For those of you who are thinking you should watch Akira, I don't know how you feel now, but
go ahead and watch watch it. But don't blame me if you go screaming into the other room and hiding under your blankets and pillows. Don't blame me. I warned you.
You heard it here first, folks. All right. Well, thank you, Susan. Paul, we're on to you now for your second entry.
So I had a hard time. I knew where I wanted to go with my second entry because so Star Wars is a huge influence on me, and the other is Disney. So and Sergio, I'm certain you remember this, but back in the day, they would re-release their movies. Like every year you'd get 1 or 2 Disney movies come out and re-release because there was no other way to see them. Like there was no outlet. There was nothing. Like, cable was nascent at the time, and VCRs were super expensive, and Disney didn't start releasing their stuff on on tape until, well into the 80s. And so, there just wasn't an outlet really for Disney classic animated movies, other than going to see them in the theater. So I would go see them in the theaters until 1983, April 1983, the Disney Channel launches. Oh. And the Disney Channel, didn't have when it first launched, did not have a lot of original entertainment. They just banked on the fact that they had an obscenely large catalog. And part of that catalog were all their animated stuff. Now, there were some of their animated movies that they would not show on there, Fantasia, Snow White, but there were some that they showed a lot. And like the 3 that come to my mind all the time are Robin Hood, Sword in the Stone, and the movie I'm going to mention now, and it's Jungle Book. So Jungle Book is my second movie, and I have seen Jungle Book more than any other animated movie, even like the Lego movie, which my son loved and made us watch every day, and nobody at our house complained every day for like a year. But Jungle Book is just absolutely my favorite Disney animated movie, and it was because of the Disney Channel that I got exposure to it, the level of exposure to it that I did, and I just would watch the Disney Channel nonstop as a kid. And so the Jungle Book stands out because of the songs. I loved the songs. I loved the musical, the singing, and that part of it was just what I really loved and connected with. And this is before I moved to Florida, so I didn't have easy access to Disney World. So I had been a couple times when we would come down and visit Grandma and Grandpa. We would, I had been a couple times before I moved down here, but so I liked Disney, but the Disney Channel, I just was absolutely brainwashed. 100%. There's no way around it. I was brainwashed. I would watch Donald Duck Presents every morning, which would just show the old Mickey cartoons. And, I watched Apple Dumping Gang a couple dozen times because that was on all the time. And, just all these, all the Disney catalog was always on, and I was more than happy to consume it. And Jungle Book was one of those that they did show a lot of that just really stuck with me, and I love it. And I love Disney, and I love animated movies because of that. Yeah.
Nice. I like it. I've never seen the Jungle Book. I'm kidding. I have. I promise I have.
Yeah. Because I would have said, Susan, we're preempting Fern Gully for Jungle Book. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say that you said that you watched it over and over again, and the story that I keep the embarrassing story that your mom tells your girlfriend when you're first dating, that it's just like a rite of passage. Your mom has to tell your girlfriend an embarrassing story.
Okay.
So the embarrassing story that I got.
I do better than to bring my dates anywhere near my house, but continue.
Well, so Cullen's mom used to tell me about how he would watch that movie over and over and over again until he wore the tape out. And then there was photographic evidence because he used to watch it from sun up to sundown, and sometimes would forget to get, dressed in those moments. And there's a picture of him with a giant set of headphones on this 3-year-old naked kid. and you just see like silhouette naked butt, and it's like he's holding the plug of the headphones to go plug it into the system so he could listen to it and not drive everyone else insane. So Cullen wore that out himself.
Excellent. Good job, Cullen. Good job by you.
Oh my. All right.
I'm gonna tell him in just a second that I totally outed him. So I'll get a picture and you can.
If you get the picture, we'll put it on the poster. So.
Oh God, he would kill me. He knows where I live.
Oh my. All right. Well, for myself, it was kind of a struggle, not because I didn't have plenty to pick from, but because you know how it is when you go back down memory lane. You try to figure out which one should I highlight. One of the ones that I almost went with was my dad. To make movie going easier, drive-ins were a big deal, and for a carload, he could take all of us to a movie. And so I remember movies like Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. It was just that kind of stuff that was classic, or it was watching black and white movies on Saturday, monster movies on Saturdays, after cartoons were done. You would get that classic Frankenstein or the Wolfman. But I'm going to go with a movie from 1978 that to this day holds its magic. Forget special effects and all this other stuff. It's just a fantastic, fantastic film. And while I won't say it was eclipsed by its first sequel is right up there with it in terms of like my fandom of this character and of course these films. But it's Superman the movie in 1978. Christopher Reeve as of course the titular Superman. Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor, Margot Kidder as Lois Lane. This movie was just, for the time, of course, as an 8-year-old, I'm like fascinated, right? But when you grow up watching the Super Friends and as a kid the cartoons and so forth, and then you get to see this on the big screen, it's just, I remember just being bug-eyed the entire time as this movie played out. And then, of course, and the Superman 2 being introduced to General Zod and all of those characters, and this movie to this day has. I don't have kids, but if I did, I know in my heart that this would be on their filmography or their list of films to see really, really well as soon as they're able to understand it, because it had such a hugely positive impact on me. I remember. We went to go see it as a family, and coming home and my brothers and I trying to find everything that was any blanket that was red, wrapping it around our necks. I mean, all the traditional things that kids do. My little brother spraining his ankle because he jumped off the bunk bed. And so, it's just, it was so much fun. And upon rewatch, I know not everybody agrees, but it like I said, it holds its magic for me. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. And I'll watch it to this day and still get that positive sort of little heart glow of memories of my childhood and my brothers and sisters and my parents. And so, so Superman, the movie is one that huge impact on me and big memories. So
can I share 2 Superman the movie thoughts?
Please. Absolutely.
1, Gene Hackman, still top 3 comic book movie villain.
I agree.
Like Heath Ledger as Joker is 1, and then for me, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor is 2. You might be able to make an argument for Thanos is 2 instead, and put Gene Hackman 3. But for me, I'm still putting Gene Hackman kid. So
I agree.
And 2, I definitely saw this movie in the theaters as well. I vividly remember seeing this one in the theaters, because we loved it so much. But the thing is that I remember seeing it on television. They showed it on television. So the copy that we had, we recorded off of the television.
Nice.
And I don't know if you know this, Sergio, but they added scenes for the television release.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I didn't know that.
About that.
Like at the time, I had no idea. So, and I am not kidding. I the only version I saw of it for the longest time was my television version. And then I bought the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
And there was shit that didn't happen on the DVD. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea what was going on. And then my brother was like, oh yeah, no, the version on the television had extra scenes. I was like, I had no fucking idea. I had no clue.
Oh, man.
From, so, 1980 or 79 when it first aired on TV or whatever year it was, until who knows when its first DVD release came out. I genuinely had no idea that there were added scenes on it. I just thought Superman being frozen in ice by, things that Lex Luthor, by traps that Lex Luthor set up, was part of the movie, like in there in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I always forget about stuff like that. And yeah, man, it's like early versions of deleted scenes from DVDs now. So
I do want to add one bad thing. That Margot Kidder "Can You Read My Mind" song part of the movie.
Oh.
If they just could snip,
yeah,
and then
we'll call it the Paul Britton cut.
Yes, Paul Britton cut. I think I would not be alone in thinking, wow, this is a great movie without that.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny how certain films have that, and it's like we could do without that entire storyline right there.
Well, there was when it was aired on television, a commercial came up right after that. And so my brother and I would know we'd start fast forwarding. And we could go all the way through commercial.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we did not
awesome.
need to wait for the commercial to start fast forwarding. We could start it right away.
Oh goodness. All right.
That's right, kids. We used to have to record shit off of the TV and fast forward through commercials to enjoy movies, bitches. That is how old we are. Leave us alone.
Yeah, but I'm that old because I used to do that.
But did you ever record songs off the radio?
Yes. You had to put the tape over the little holes.
Sitting there waiting for them to play it. But
they would talk over it. Oh.
Right. So I figured out early that it was Casey Kasem. You needed to listen to Casey Kasem because you knew the song that you loved was going to be on there. And so you would listen one week and say, okay, where is it? So that, all right, this is about where it'll be next week. So that was, there was a whole method.
Man, that's awesome. I love it. Oh, the memories of childhood.
Damn. Not having money for records. VCR tapes literally costing like $40 a pop.
No kidding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until God bless the Columbia
right.
When they started doing movies.
Yep. Oh man. Well, it has been a fun walk down memory lane with you guys on this topic, and we hope that you enjoyed this. We want to hear from you. If you're watching, let us know what childhood movies do you recall, or what movies impacted you in your younger days. Let us know by commenting on our posts on Facebook or Instagram, where you can find us. Let us know what you're thinking, and maybe check out some of the movies we've talked about today if you're not familiar. Also, here on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Please remember, as always, click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And also click on the notification bell so you know when our episodes land week to week. And we like doing these videos for you. We hope you like watching them. And if you do, you can click that little like button to let us know your thoughts. And then comment on the videos as well. And we will watch or we'll read. And, we'll even take your suggestions for future topics on the show. So let us know what you're thinking. All right. Well, it's time now for this week's segments. And I'm curious, as always, Paul, what the hell did you watch this
week? My God. Okay. So every once in a while, based on what we talk about during the thing, I try to sync up a little bit. I do make an effort sometimes. It's not always just, what does Paul feel like watching this week? Every once in a while, it's like, okay, here's something that works. So along the theme that we're already on of movies that impact us as a kid. So my mom, when she would do the laundry every week, and she was the mom that ironed t-shirts, that's who she was, I got to be an adult and I was like, I wash my t-shirts and I would hold them up and be like, why the hell is she ironing this? Like, it doesn't make any sense, but that's what she did. So God bless her. She did eventually stop. But while she was ironing t-shirts, she would watch movies. And she would, much like toddlers, she would get into all right, this is the movie I'm watching now, and just watch it over and over and over and over again. And one such movie, Sergio, you might remember this one. Susan, I'm going to assume you have no idea what I'm about to talk about, is The Day After. Do you remember, Sergio, do you remember The Day After?
The nuclear war one?
The nuclear war
yes.
one. So,
oh my.
What year is The Day After from? So, as you know, my mom recorded it. She knew she was going to love this movie because she loved. I get my love for disaster flicks from my mom. Like, she loves disaster movies. She loves them. And the subgenre of disaster movies that she loves more than any, much like me, is disaster movies where the earth is basically fucked. If the earth is fucked, that's all the better for the disaster movie. And the subgenre of that she loved more than anything was nuclear disaster movies. Like,
my.
Yeah. So The Day After, 1983, I'm 9.
Yeah.
8. We'll assume it came out before September. So I'm 8. She records The Day After and goes on a 6-month spree of once a week watching The Day After. I'm 8. Where the fuck am I going to go? I'm stuck at home.
Right.
So I end up watching The Day After over and over and over again. And, I've seen Jeff Goldblum with advanced radiation poisoning more than I ever. Not Jeff Goldblum. Who is he? Fuck.
Oh my goodness.
It's Jeff Gutenberg. Sorry, Jeff Gutenberg.
Yeah.
With advanced radiation poisoning more times than I care to say. But that's not the movie we're doing. I'm just bringing that up because
I was like, okay.
No. So this is the fun. So I was curious about. I was like, I want to see an old disaster movie because I know it's just going to be totally weird.
Gotcha.
and weird. So I actually did research to find early nuclear disaster movies.
Gotcha.
And I happened upon one that was directed by Ray Milland, who has come up before in this segment when I did Frogs, because there was the one time where when we were doing so there was the one time where we did Oscar films, Best Picture winners. I did Lost Weekend starring Ray Milland, and and he was a big fucking deal at the time, whatever. And then he ended up doing this movie in 1970 something called Frogs, which was just horrible. But whatever. That's another episode. Go look in our archives. He directed and starred in a movie called Panic in Year Zero, in which a family from Los Angeles is going for, and this is 1963, I think, but a family in Los Angeles is going for their camping trip. And as they're getting out of Los Angeles, there is a bright light behind them. And it turns out that the Russians have attacked and have blown up Los Angeles. And 1963. And not only Los Angeles, but you come to find out New York and Chicago, and we retaliated and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, this movie is a total what the fuck did I just watch, or what the hell did I just watch movie, because I mean, it has some things that are common in the genre, which is the decay, the absolute decay of society, but it's also with the 1960s filter. So there, and we're talking about the same filter that gives us Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer animated special, where it's they need to get back to Santa's house because of the women, that kind of well, we're still going to be a society, damn it. So even though we're going to live in this cave, we're going to have a table, and we're, and it's just, and I'm still going to wear a button-down shirt, and it's so, I mean, But there are a few things that they do that are like really like progressive for the time. Like they encounter these beatniks. Yes, there are beatniks and they are bad. That's classic early 1960s horribleness. You know, like the beatniks are going to ruin everything, and here they are, and they're still alive. Damn it! And so the beatniks have killed a farming family and taken over their farmhouse, but left the daughter alone for their nefarious things. And they actually, like, they don't shy away from that in this movie. Like, it's flat out. She's holed up, chained to a bed, and it is clear that they've been doing horrible things to this girl. And it's really like, oh my God, they did that in 1963. But like, yeah, of course. I mean, that's, you know, what would happen in one of these movies. So it's, I'm telling you, if you like disaster flicks as much as I do, and you have a penchant for the genre of nuclear disaster flicks, Panic in Year Zero is 100% worth a watch. Absolutely. I could not possibly recommend this movie more. If you don't care for these movies, do not watch it. It's horrible. It's just, it is bad. But as a master of the genre, I feel like I now have filled in a missing piece of the puzzle. So
there you go.
Bravo for that.
I mean, it's got Frankie Avalon. So
it's got a young Frankie Avalon who he doesn't sing. Like, that's the only thing that's missing. Like,
is there music?
I was honestly waiting for the moment where like they're around the fire and like he just breaks out into song, because it would be totally appropriate for a 1963 nuclear movie to have it happen. But
oh man. All right. Well, we will keep that one in mind for sure. I have to ask you, because The Day After was just to go back to that for just a quick second. The Day After was a very purposeful film in terms of its timing of release, because of the nuclear threat was such a big deal back then. I'm curious, as a sort of sub connection to that, how does your mom feel about War Games, the movie?
No, we loved War Games, my brother and I. We watched that was one that was on HBO. So
it's still great. I love it.
We saw it like a bazillion times, but that was not one that she got into. Like when
so it was more you had to see the bomb.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. That's right. Yeah, like she, you know, for whatever reason, like and it wasn't always disaster movies from her. Like, I don't want you to think that like she was a total wackadoo. She is a little bit of a wackadoo. Like today, she still she's the person that watches the History Channel once the alien crap comes on at night. That's what she likes now. So whatever. Okay.
Hey, wackadoo is cool. So we're all a little bit wackadoo.
We are all a little wackadoo.
Indeed. Well, Paul, you always bring fantastic stuff, as I say, week to week, and make sure folks check
Panic
back
in Year Zero.
Check back episodes of our shows if you haven't kept up with the wonder that is what in the hell did I just watch, because you have some fantastic titles from Paul. So
I actually put forth effort this time, and it was rewarded. I am telling you, it was absolutely rewarded. Goddamn.
Nicely done. I love the poster. Comment on the posters of the movies you bring, and this one is a good one.
This
one's a good one. All right. Well, again, Paul, as always, thank you so much for your time, which brings us now to Susan. Finally saw. Susan, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So this one's been on my list, and I can't remember. I think I've said it before. I've seen bits and pieces of this one, but I've never actually sat down and just watched the entire thing. And it is only 90 minutes-ish. Hour and a half long, hour and 28 minutes. I watched the 1980 comedy Airplane.
Yes.
So Paul's comment on my list is just yes.
That's what I just said, by the way.
I know. I was like, look at this consistency here. So obviously, it's funny. It's got pun after pun after pun. It's got little slapstick here and there. The thing that I liked about it, and this is something that I've seen in a few movies that are kind of similar, or like maybe were influenced by this, is that they don't know when to stop a gag. Okay, they keep going and
surely
going,
you can't be serious.
And you're just like, when is this gonna? But in my opinion, Airplane did it right to where it was just at that verge of okay, you can stop now, and they stopped. Whereas I've seen other films that are just like, okay, I'm done. Can you just move on? Like I get the point now. But I really loved like it was absolutely hilarious. Like with the different things and I was like every time a pun would come up, I'd be like, oh, I see. Now I see where Sergio gets like pun love from. Because I'm not going to say that I was ever against puns, but I wasn't a big fan of them, I guess. I mean, of course,
if you're against puns, you're against Sergio people.
I know. I've never been against them, and I'm swearing right now. I'm not against them. I'm just, I mean, maybe it's just because I'm not as clever. I'm not as good at it as some people. But like the puns, like, have you ever, is this your first time? No, I've been nervous plenty of times. Like the bait and switch kind of thing. Yeah. Like that. Oh God. No, I've been nervous plenty of times. Or, like you said, don't, surely you can't be serious. Yes, it's
I am serious, and stop calling me Shirley.
Like, exactly. So, but and it's one of those movies. It's like it's quotable, and they know when to cut it off because they know when it's about to be too much. Because you're getting on the verge of like, okay, this is ridiculous, but not in a good way. But they stopped it, so it was still ridiculous in a good way. Plus, Leslie Nielsen. I mean, can't go wrong.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Come on. Like. Yeah. Wow, these people. So I really enjoyed it. And it was a good 90 minutes. And it was one of those things where I was like, you know what? I could definitely watch that again and just laugh. Laugh. So yeah, that's my intro today.
I don't care how many times I've seen this movie when the autopilot comes out. Good Lord.
She has to reinflate Otto. And that's so I saw that movie when I was very young, like 6 or 7, like it came out on HBO, and I did not see it in theaters, but I definitely saw it on HBO when it came out on HBO. That is what, like, the wonderful thing about those movies is there are gags that you don't really get until you're older. And that one, the reinflating of Otto one, was one that like 5 years after I'm watching it, 5 years after I first saw it, I'm watching it again, like, holy shit, I didn't realize I didn't get that joke.
Right, because, as a kid,
it's just funny. She's reinflating Otto, and he's, getting reinflated, and she's having a hard time with it, apparently, or something. And so why would they be smoking cigarettes afterwards? It doesn't matter. It's an inflatable thing smoking a cigarette. That's funny.
I love that you just used the phrase hard time while explaining that. So.
By the way, I'm going to be a horrible, person for a moment. Young Paul was influenced by a rated PG movie with boobs. It's horrible of me. I'm going to own it, though. Like, just flat out, it was a PG rated movie, and there were boobs in it.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't alone, so.
That's one thing that us older guys get that younger kids don't get. You do not get rated PG-13 or PG boobs. You don't get it. We did. Nope. Clash of the Titans, another one.
Oh, that's right. Maybe that's another episode of boobs and movies. No.
I could do that episode, but I don't think we should do that episode.
What's the first movie where you see some boobs?
Oh man! All right. Well, that I got to say that was a great choice, Susan. I'm glad you finally saw that.
Fantastic choice.
Airplane 2, Paul. Do we recommend it to her?
I think it's watchable. It's not as good. The problem with Airplane 2 is the problem with all Zucker and Abrams sequels is that there's a lot of retread.
It's a rehash,
There's a lot of retread on the jokes, but there are some original things that happen that are fun. Just the idea that they're taking the space shuttle is funny in and of itself.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to, Susan, Airplane 2 is worth the watch. It's one of those rare sequels that just about lives up. So
not as good. It's not as good, but
But it's all right.
It's good.
I've always loved that it got nominated. Airplane got nominated for Golden Globes and stuff. So fantastic. All right. Well, that was another fun trip down not down but alongside you on your journey of watching films that you haven't seen. So thank you so much, Susan, for sharing that with us. Big one, Airplane, highly recommend. Where can it be found, Susan? And Paul, we'll go back to yours for a second.
It was on, I had to rent it on, I can never remember the name of it.
Prime?
No, hang on. Let me look it up real quick because I don't remember. I have everything programmed in to my Roku box, and it was on. It says okay, so I rented it on Prime Video, but you can find it on Vudu is what I'm thinking of. I rented on Vudu, not Prime Video. So Vudu is one of them, and you can also, if you have stars attached to your Prime Video or your Netflix or any of your streaming services, if you've got stars attached to it, it is available on stars as well.
Excellent. And Paul, your film?
I had to rent it on Amazon, and so that's how dedicated I was to see this one for this particular. I rented it.
When we
normally like I'll have like 4 or 5, and I'll just pick whichever one is I can watch for free. But this time it was flat out like, yeah, this is for this episode. I'm gonna do it. It makes sense. Yeah,
love it. All right. Well, that brings us to this week's segment called Real Time Rewind, where I talk about films that I love and want to remind you are out there. If you haven't seen them yet, I highly recommend them. And this week, I just want to remind everyone about a movie called L.A. Confidential. L.A. Confidential is an absolute tour de force film that just really, I mean, it begins with the cast. I mean, this cast is just an amazing group of people. Kevin Spacey as Jack Vincennes. You've got Russell Crowe as Bud White. Edmund Exley as Guy Pearce. Kim Basinger in what?
You said Exley as Guy Pearce. It's
played by Guy Pearce.
There you go.
That's right. And in an Academy Award-winning turn as Veronica, what was her last name? I'm sorry. Well, Lynn Bracken is the name of the character.
Yeah.
There's a whole subplot to her character that's amazing. So if you haven't seen LA Confidential, it's fantastic. It also has James Cromwell, who is one of my absolute favorites.
Did you mention Danny DeVito?
Yes, Danny DeVito as Sid Hudgens. So it's a great movie. It's a throwback to the old, gosh, what was the time frame of the film?
50s.
The 50s, yes. And I remember when I first went to see it, it was the first few minutes. I was like, okay, so this is to use the word Paul used. This is noir. This is very, where is this going? And then it really picks up, and it's just this. The twists and turns of LA Confidential are so worth watching. The story is amazing. The acting is spot on. The set pieces, it's a period piece, for lack of a better way to describe it. And it's one of those that I'll go back to quite often because it is such a fantastic film. So if you haven't seen it already, you can catch it on streaming. LA Confidential is well worth the watch. I'm going to take a moment to see if I can let you guys know where you can find it. LA Confidential is on Hulu. And so if you've got Hulu, you can see it at no extra charge. So speaking of Hulu, we are going to, I'm going to not intro it that way because we've got 3 items for this week's real quick reviews. I want to, I'm not sure where to start, Paul, because we had a really eclectic group.
Let's start with the Netflix one. Just get it out of the way.
Why did I know? So I'll bring that one up. The first film we'll give a real quick review on. This was a by the numbers action movie. Netflix is really churning these out. It's called Outside the Wire. Anthony Mackie. This was a vehicle for him. It's a science fiction kind of, war / military film. You know me, I enjoyed it, but I'll just right now say it since it's real quick. I'm not going to go above 3 tacos for this particular movie. But Outside the Wire, I found it entertaining once it got rolling. Then it got way too heavy toward the end. And I was like, oh, see, you're trying to have some sort of message.
And the message is bad.
It is.
It's not a good message.
Yeah.
We've seen this message before, and it's been done better.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I have no problems with trying to put a message into an action film like this. By the way, loved the first hour. Loved it.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Loved the first hour.
Yeah.
The last half of this movie is just like, oh my God, what did you do? And I love Mackie too. Like, Mackie's a great actor. He is fantastic in action films. He's in a Netflix series called something Carbon. He was in season 2.
Altered Carbon.
Altered Carbon. Thank you. He was in season 2 of Altered Carbon. Amazing in Altered Carbon. The last half of this movie is just almost unwatchable.
Yeah, I agree.
Heavy-handedly dumb it gets. It's just there's such a good movie here if you just are like, we're gonna go and save the day, instead of being like, we're gonna go and show people that this is what you have to do, because it's like, come on.
I had very, very sort of sinking feeling when I saw a sequence that I thought, wait, that's where it should end, and there was still like another 45-50 minutes, and I'm like, oh no.
Well, yeah, and I think I know what you're talking about, and I didn't think it should end, but I felt, okay, we're like 15 minutes more. Like, it wouldn't end there, but like definitely there's going to be another little thing that they have to. But it was like, oh shit, and then they start going there. I'm like, you cannot be serious. This is where you're taking it. I literally was like, I absolutely could have thrown this into what the hell did I just watch, because of the twist that this movie takes, and I'm not going to spoil it for anybody. I highly recommend people watch it. The first hour is balls to the walls amazing, and then it just.
This is the kind of movie I would hope that our audience would watch and then tell us how they feel, because
absolutely,
I was so with it, from the opening sequence. You know, that you have a character in this position of like, what do I do? And he commits, and that gets the story rolling, and then it turns, and you're like,
I was 100% in. I was on board, like the bad guys, everything. I was so like, let's do this.
Yeah,
I'm here. However long you want to drag me along, I'm gonna follow. And then they made a turn. I'm like, wait, we were supposed to go. Why are we going this way? You're supposed to go that way. Why are we going this way? Stop. 2 tacos.
2 tacos. All right. Well, I gave it 3, so we'll split the difference and call it 2.5. But no, because that would be a waste of guac. So, anywho, that is our first entry this week, Outside the Wire. You can find it on Netflix, and if you do, let us know what you think. Paul, I'll turn it over to you. I think, I'll let you decide which direction to go.
Susan, did you get a chance to watch WandaVision?
Yes.
Let's do WandaVision.
Yeah, I'm happy with that decision. All right. So on Disney Plus, WandaVision is now up, and it's 3 episodes deep at this point. Paul, I want to start with you and then Susan, because I don't want to be the wet blanket.
Okay, I'm assuming you don't like it. I love it. I am totally 100% in. The first 2 episodes are super duper slow. So like, the first 2 episodes lay tiny little seeds. And then the 3rd episode, which just came out this week, which was part of the reason why we held off. We all agreed, let's give it 1 more week and get 1 more episode in. The 3rd episode was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. And so the concept of the show is that for some reason, nobody has any idea why, Wanda Maximoff, Scarlet Witch, and Vision are living in American sitcoms. At first 1950s, sort of like, I'm the housewife, and type of thing, and then in 1960s, more like a Bewitched sort of situation, and then like late 60s, early 70s is the 3rd episode, where it's like the set is basically the Brady Bunch. I mean, it's they basically stole the Brady Bunch set and put it on there, and it's really smart the way they've done those in my mind, and where the story's going. Basically, for those who don't know, Scarlet Witch is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel universe, and she has the ability to bend reality. And so whether what we don't know at this point is where's the source of this reality and how did it come about? And so but by the end of the third episode, this is not reality. Like something's going on. And Wanda's being held somewhere. And like they're being held somewhere, and what's going on? And it's getting really good. Like the end of the third episode, I felt like, yes, this is where okay, let's figure it out. Let's solve this mystery. So I'm totally stoked for the rest of the series.
Susan, I'm going to go to you next, but I just want to cut in real quick. So I will say I didn't get to the third episode, and so I still need to watch that. And I'm, frankly, just after listening to Paul, I'm a little more motivated to want to continue. But just want to throw that in because you did a great job of selling the third episode.
The third episode's fantastic. Like, seriously. And so I'm so glad we waited, because it would be very easy to have watched the first episode and then bail and be like, not for me. The third episode is like, yes! Third episode is everything. Gotcha. Yeah.
So
I didn't get to the third episode either, because I misunderstood. I thought we were just watching the first two episodes, and so I just watched the first two episodes. So, but I mean, we were agreeing. Okay, sorry. I lost it.
I'm the only one that knows. Then it's so good.
Well, okay, and I'm kind of in the same mindset where it was like you said, the first two episodes are really slow. Yeah. And I mean, like, I get that the idea is, they're in some kind of, sitcom. So, I mean, for me, instead of feeling like they took all these cues and made it into something of their own, to me, it kind of felt like just lazy, that they were taking an easy way out, I guess. And for me, and something else that I suppose should probably be stated, and a lot of you probably know that I'm really terrible at watching movies, as is evident by my segment, which is called I Finally Saw This Movie. I am not at all familiar with Scarlet Witch or Vision from the MCU. I have seen of the, how many movies are there?
Many.
Yeah.
22?
Of the whole series, in the first few phases through Endgame, which is the complete story, it's 22 movies.
Okay. Of the 22 movies, I have seen 3.
And there you go.
Maybe 4. So, and none of them, and they were like one-off movies, so that then, one-off spun into something else, I'm sure, but like, I'm not familiar with it, and I'm sure that detracts from it. But for me, even just, I was trying to go at it as a, and I knew that was what the case was. I tried to go at it as okay, I don't know anything about context. If someone coming in who doesn't know anything about context, what can they glean from this? And for me, it felt kind of flat. It felt lazy.
The one thing that you need to know is Vision is actually dead. Like, right. So anybody else coming in who has seen all the MCU would know that Vision's actually dead. How is he here? Like, so right. that's a key thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
While a spoiler, it won't ruin the entire process for you.
Right.
So
we'll see. I mean, to me, it kind of felt like it didn't grasp my interest at all in terms of like the story, in terms of it was just kind of like, okay, am I watching Saturday morning reruns or what's the deal? So.
Yeah. And so that's where, for myself, the reason I didn't want to launch into it was because I very selfishly wanted to know what y'all thought and what the perspectives were. My trouble with WandaVision from the moment it was announced, as a project a couple of years back, was what I have struggled with the MCU from Endgame forward, which is I was invested for that many years, for that many movies. I'm okay with closing the book for myself, but I understand that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to continue. I understand Disney Plus is going to be producing material, and I'm more intrigued by Falcon and the Winter Soldier, perhaps, than I would be by, say, WandaVision. And I love the characters. You got to understand, I love the characters. When the first trailers came out for this particular series, I was just so taken aback by like, what are they doing with these iconic characters? Like, what is going on? I saw the first 2 episodes, and I want to begin by saying I love what they're doing in terms of the characters, in terms of the cheekiness of the, you know, the setting and the old classic sitcoms. But there's this part of me that's like, do I want to go down this road again? You know, and will it taint for me the wonderful feelings I have about the first, you know, 22 film series story that was told, that kind of thing. And so that's where I struggle with it, because I know the way I explained it to my friend Nick is like, I know too much. I know that Vision isn't with us anymore. And, you know, so I can literally say, Paul, as we do this show, that your description of the 3rd episode now has me going, well, it's the old line from The Godfather Part 3. I was out, and now they suck me back in. So I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna give it a shot.
I want everybody to watch it. I want everybody to watch it because I just need more. The comic book nerd, you know, the 8-year-old comic book nerd in me just needs people to keep watching Marvel stuff, so they keep making Marvel stuff, so I get what I want.
So it's funny you say that, because that is my only trepidation about continuing this series, is that there are now call outs to comic book things I'm not familiar with. So
I will help you with that.
Okay.
1, important to know, in the comic books, Scarlet Witch does make herself pregnant so that she and Vision can have kids, and they have twins, and obviously they are mutants.
So they're following,
for sure.
Got it.
And the 3rd episode is hilarious because of how the whole pregnancy thing works out. But so that's thing 1. Thing 2 to know, in the comic books, Scarlet Witch goes fucking batshit and crazy and insane. And there is a concerted effort to figure out what the hell to do with this person who can literally alter the reality of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, what to do with this person when she goes insane. And there's a whole offshoot, which I haven't actually read, but it's called House of M. I've
heard of that.
There are some theories out there that this is going down House of M. That's possible. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, but it's pretty obvious that, yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. I highly give the first 3 episodes a chance, everybody. If you don't like, you can bail. I won't feel bad for you, but please at least go through the 3rd episode, please.
I can commit to doing that.
It's 22. Yeah. It's an extra 22 minutes. It's funny. It's a genuinely funny 22 minutes, and it ends like.
Somebody tell me why it's 8 minutes of credits after each episode. Good gosh. But anywho, that's just me. So, all right, you can find WandaVision on Disney Plus, and everything else Marvel there as well. Mm-hmm. Which brings us to the last film that we'll talk about in this week's real quick reviews, and it is. I'm
gonna emotionally center for this one.
Oh,
this is gonna be tough. I'm not gonna be able to get through this easily.
I agree. On Hulu, you can find a movie called In and of Itself. And Paul, when you suggested this, I do like I often do when it comes to RQRs and your suggestions. I just was like, nah, no, I'm kidding. No, I after Possessor, I have this sort of like resolve to like, okay, don't let Paul down again. And so I started it, and I was like, I've got to save it for the show, but I wanted to message you so badly. But I held off. And In and of Itself is a documentary film. It's basically it's labeled as a documentary, but it is the filmed version of a stage act.
Like a Hamilton type of thing. But
that is part magic and illusion.
Right.
And very much a study on identity. I want to. I don't know that I can start. I was very pleased, Susan, to know that you watched it as well, because I really needed all three of us to weigh in. So
I did.
I don't know
can
where to
start.
begin with this documentary film. It's amazing.
So I can start if that makes it easier for y'all, because I think so. When I first started watching it, my thought was kind of, oh, it's gonna be one of these weird, like, whatever, just, and I was kind of sitting there like, okay, let's get this over with. It's 90 minutes, right? And as he was talking and the stories he would tell, and then things would build, and he would have these like personal impacts, and it was like, I began like, it was riveting. I was just like, and I found myself in tears multiple times. I found myself pausing to go,
yeah,
wow, oh wow, and then like the little things that he does at the end, and it's like watching the audience and their reactions, and like the part that struck me the biggest, I think, was the woman reading the letter on stage, and she was like,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, how do you even
it is
Powerful.
by far the most captivating thing I've ever seen put to film. Just absolutely unbelievably impactful and captivating. And
yes,
I uncontrollably cried twice during this. Twice.
Oh yeah, at least
twice. Uncontrollably cried. Just like little baby crying, like, oh my God. And probably, had I not cried before already, probably would have cried if you had just put me in the middle, like probably would have cried like 2 or 3 other times, but I was already emotionally spent. Wow.
Well, and before, and to be fair, before this movie, I had kind of a rough, like, afternoon, evening time. It was more evening time because it was just a lot going on at my house, and I had cried before I even started the show. I was just like, and I sat down, and that was kind of, I guess maybe that was where my like guardedness came from at the beginning, where I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
But then, as it was, and it was like, it softened me and it brought me back down, and I was like, this is and of course my husband walked in, and it was kind of like, he walked into the room and he turned and he was like, like, bye. Saw me, and I'm like, I had the box of tissues, and I was like, and he was just like, he walked in and he was like, oh, bye, I'm out. And he like walked right away. I was like, okay, cool, thanks. See you later.
Yeah.
But oh man, and just like every story, and it built 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 and it built, and then it ended, and it was like, but there's more, there's got to be more, there's more of it. There has to be more.
There had to be more.
There's just for fuller context, Derek Delgadio is the magician who is the central and only character, so to speak, at least in the main production of this what was a Broadway presentation. It's I think that it's 552 episodes, or not episodes, 552 performances that were done of this show, and filmed, directed by Frank Oz, who was very well involved in the production of the stage version. Neil Patrick Harris produced the stage version as well. So there was a lot of familiar names behind the production that I'd never heard of at all. And the premise is that as you walk into this performance, there are cards that are hanging, and it's I am, and some form of descriptor. I am the life of the party. I am, just
a mother,
a father, son, daughter.
A caregiver. Some are occupations, some are adjectives, some are literal relations, like things like that. Yeah.
And then through the course of the show, you pick one and you turn it in, and it's the stack is given to Derek Delgadio before he goes on stage. And through the use of storytelling from his own personal life, of which he deep dives tremendously,
very personally,
and his own skill and ability and sleight
Hi,
of
Mom.
hand, magic, and so forth.
The hi mom got me so bad. I was just like,
Yeah. One of the cards that they would have it, one of the cards is nobody. And it's just to have that card out there that somebody could pick it.
Yeah.
And then it's just, this movie just will hit you. Now,
yeah.
It's a very personal experience.
Mhm.
If that is not your cup of tea, if you have a hard time getting through that, don't. I would never show this to my wife. She would not. This is not for her, you know. And we even had a conversation about it afterwards. And I told her, like, you know, I'm not going to show you this, but I want to tell you about the experience that I just had.
Yeah.
You know, but it's, I can't recommend it more. Like, you know, it's.
And so here's something that you guys, maybe Paul, you'll get a laugh out of this. There are some movies that you look at me dead in the face on the camera and you say, Susan, do not watch this.
Yeah.
And you were like, please watch this. Please, you need to watch this. And it was like, okay. That is more an endorsement than me reading the thing and going, oh, that sounds interesting. I could probably watch that. But you're like, you must watch this.
Yeah.
And like,
I was only like 20 minutes in when I sent that across. Like, I had not gotten to the end when I told you guys we got to add this.
There are points, and I've messaged one of the quotes to somebody when I was watching it. One of the quotes that just hit me really hard, and I was like, I had to pause and like finish crying so I could start it back up again. And then, like, you know, at the very end when he's telling everybody all the things, like you said, the nobody, it was like that was that guy, that person that selected that card. It's just like, that was heartbroken. And then there was a point where
heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And that's the one that I didn't cry on. That if I had just seen that, I would have absolutely cried at that moment. But it's like, fuck.
And what did he whisper? What did he whisper in that lady's ear? Like, I want to know what he said.
I know.
Because she was like, he like leaned over and he said it, and she was just like, waterworks. It was like, what did he say? I want to know.
I sent 2 messages after I was finished with it, and one was to Susan and one was to Jen. I need to get this out. Susan actually messaged me, and she's like, she asked something about it, not about the film itself, but something about its runtime or something. And I had just literally, Paul, I had just finished it. And I remember when it begins with a comment about put away your cell phone or put away your, you know,
right.
And I really was like, when it first said that, I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
You can't tell me in my own house. But I, as much as I was crying throughout, I let it run. I didn't pause it. I was like, no, for me, this has to be I just knew it had to be complete and fluid. So I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't text. I didn't nothing. It was moments after the credits rolled, and I watched the credits all the way to the end just because I was just so struck. Yeah. And I got a message from Susan asking about runtime or something, and I just wrote her back and I said, I'm so glad you're gonna watch this. I wrote Jen and I said, hey, I gave her the title and I said it's on Hulu, and she put good ? And I put necessary. This whole idea of identity is something that hit me the way it did, because the world sees this sort of confident guy that does all these things, but man, there are days where it's like, who am I? You know? And I will forever be thankful that this project existed, because of the impact it had on me and the reminder that it was to me that those kind of struggles are okay. But the message of this whole thing of, you know, what are you defined by? you know, and is it good or bad that you allow yourself to be defined this way? I loved your phrase earlier, Paul. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen on screen, and it's gonna go with me literally to my dying day. Yeah. I mean, it's a masterpiece. So.
I hope to revisit it at some point. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can. But
yeah, I need some time.
Yeah.
Well, the messages the only message that I sent was and it was at the end of it, the line, the phrase that he said that hit me really hard was, every single secret has a weight to it and you can only carry it for so long. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, okay. Just stop, and I had to just be like, I need a cigarette.
I never thought there were two words that I never thought would impact me, and we already talked about one, nobody, and the words "Hi, Mom."
Yeah,
I was just done.
Yeah,
I was. Oh.
I want to bring in a moment of levity, and so the first segment with the with the sailboat. At the first segment, I said to myself, "Oh, I know what's going to happen to the backdrop." Like I flat out said, I know what's going to happen, and I was correct. But I thought it was going to happen like way earlier, and it's just it's good. It was like I was proud of myself, at least because I'm horrible at predicting things like that. Like I'm horrible at predicting like what's going to happen in a movie or anything. Like, even in spite of all the movies that I've seen, I typically don't try to figure out what's going to happen. It was one time where I figured out what was going to happen. I was so proud of myself. So I just want.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. By the time that happens.
Yeah,
I was so in it that it wasn't until like an hour later that I was having this moment of like, wait a minute, how did that happen? Like that was, it took me that much to realize what I had just seen. So yeah. So you can find it on Hulu in and of itself. Susan, I think you might have had another thought.
No, I used to watch, when I was a kid, I used to watch all those sleight of hand and magic shows, like David Copperfield and all of that. And like, I had a feeling I knew what was going to happen at the very end, and it happened sort of in the way but not in the way that I thought. So it was really amazing. Like
his
just
skills,
amazing.
Even if you just look at his work as a magician, he's so good. Yeah. But then it's just that I can't even describe how he presents. It's him. It's just him. And to think he's done this over how many different times, and yet you still feel the realness. And when you watch it, those of you out there, there will be faces you'll know in the crowd, and that is such a big part of this. And so anyway, this is the one review that I went to bed not sure what to say, and I started the show not sure what to say, and here we are. So we cannot recommend this enough. In and of itself, you can find it on Hulu. It is a must.
I am going to be I am standing this one really hard. You got to see this, and I don't. The problem really is how do you recommend this without like fair warning, or should you give fair warning? For you guys, I gave no warning, and
I'm glad.
But at the same time, like I said, my wife, I would not want her to watch this because she just not for her. But and I want as many people to watch it as possible. Yeah.
I mean, and I recommended it to my husband and one of our really good friends, but in thinking he saw me a sobbing mess.
Yeah.
He knew what I was watching because I told him so. And so when I told him he should watch it, he said, should I bring tissues? And I said, oh, you know me, because there have been moments where I'm just a sobbing mess.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to let you make your own opinion, but if you want Kleenex, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have some tissues.
Yeah. My cat Mogwai sensed something because she was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'll be right here for you.
Aww. My cats are assholes.
Hey,
Oh man.
my cat too. I mean, y'all saw last week what happened, and if you look closely, Paul, this is it's fun for you. If you go back into our episode and look at about the 30-minute mark, you see her come from over here, and she jumps in my lap, and she's like lovey-doving on me, and then she attacks the shit out of me.
Right.
And like, I mean, you see me go. Sorry, but yeah, that's what my cat's an asshole too.
All right. Well, that's 3 different films you can check out. Outside the Wire on Netflix, WandaVision on Disney Plus, and In and of Itself, just a tour de force performance that you don't want to miss on Hulu. Highly recommend, especially that last one. Don't forget, I almost feel funny talking about this stuff after this, but just want to remind you here on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to click subscribe. We will try not to, fashion our identity of self based on whether you subscribe or not. But if you subscribe, you can also hit notification bell and know when our episodes land. Also, make sure you find us on Instagram and Facebook. Comment, let us know anything that impacts you. We want to hear about it. So just check us out on our social media. It feels so funny talking about that after such a deep conversation. Guys, I love doing this with y'all. Paul, thank you for the suggestion of In and of Yourself. And just another fun episode.
Yeah, good times.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, we are already looking forward to our next episode, and we thank you so much all for joining us. And for some reason, this phrase resonates even more so now after our discussion. Guys, remember, you're awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Real to Real Talk.